Okay, we're going to look at 2.3. We're going to look at our first example of how to hand draw one of these difficult graphs right from scratch. So the first thing you got to do is you got to figure for yourself out your basic graph setup. And sometimes I draw it in pencil so that I can erase it and change where the 0 points are and so forth later on. So that's what I tend to do first of all. So I'm just going to show you in pencil here if that shows up. Your basic graph. Because then you can put the 0 point wherever you want to put it and so forth. I think that'll show up, yeah. So I do that usually in pencil. So we know it's the sine graph, and we know that the sine graph, it's going to have a maximum and minimum of a half. And it's going to be shifted down 1. So that means because it's shifted down 1, this is going to be the -1 point here. And this maximum, let's say that this is a maximum where I'm going to put my maximum. And because of this half here, it's only going to go up a half. So this is actually going to be where I have, let's only make it 3 high there so we can get it on there. That's why I'm doing it in pencil here. So this would be only a half higher than -1. So this would be a -1/2. And up here, this would be where you would see our actual 0 line right here. Okay, so then that's where our axis is actually going to be. So we can draw our axis in there in a different color in pen. So that's what I would do. And that was just by analyzing the amplitude and the vertical shift. Okay, the vertical shift. Now this is where I'm going to use this pencil line and the shape of the sine graph to get my regular sine shape. Now what we do then is we do our regular sine graph in here by putting in our 4 points after and our 4 points before. That'll give us a negative period and a positive period. However, now we know that the maximum is only going up to here. So draw your regular sine graph. But don't draw it in yet. Just put in the maximum and minimum points with the dots. So a regular sine graph here. Okay, I should have went 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This would be -2 down here. That's -2.5, but that's where I'm going to go here. And here as well. And then here, I'm going to go down and up. And finally there. So that's what it's going to look like in our positive and negative period shape. Now, the next analytical part is to find out what the period is going to be here in here. So we can pretend that theta is that. So we know that the period of it, now I'm going to switch back to pen here. Now we calculate the period, where it's going to start and where it's going to end. Okay? Because it's going to shift as well. So what we do is we take this and we say that the period normally is from 0 to 2 pi. The 0 normally being there and the 2 pi normally being there. Okay? That's normal. But what we now do is we take this and we put in what's in brackets. Because there's only a 1 in front of it, we can just put that in. Okay, so now we have to solve for x. Well, all that happens is that we subtract pi, subtract pi, subtract pi. So -pi, x, subtract pi. 2 pi, subtract pi is still pi. So our period is actually pi. So at this point, here now we can put in our points. There's pi, -pi, pardon me. right there at where our normal 0 would be and where our normal 2 pi would be becomes pi out here. Out here on this one. So this becomes pi. Then halfway between pi and 2 pi is 0. And this is pi over 2. Halfway between pi and 0 is pi over 2. And halfway between negative pi and 0 is negative pi over 2. And we can see that each of these I'm going still in 90-degree or pi over 2 implements. So I can just count back now in pi over 2 implements down. So pi minus pi over 2 is negative 3 over 2 pi. This is negative 2 pi, right? And obviously a pi is going to be a whole set of those two, so there's going to be negative 3 pi is going to be this final one here. And this one's going to be negative, well, 4 pi over 2 minus another pi over 2 is negative 5 pi over 2. Okay, so now you have your whole graph done, except for you can put in the 0 point now. Okay, and then you can draw now. I would draw this in now. Draw the regular shape of a sine curve in here. Okay, so now, if you want to, you can check this thing on a calculator. Well, it goes from negative 3 pi to pi, so we're going to have to change our window a little bit. So I'm going to clear this, and I'm going to change my window, and it goes from, it's like down to, let's keep it at negative 2 to positive 2 is my let's clear this, and let's go to my window. Okay. Negative 2 pi to positive 2 pi isn't going to do it this time because it goes all the way down to negative 3 pi. So if I were to do that, I could put that in my window. So go down here and just put in negative 3 pi and then pi here. Okay. Still have the same divisions of pi over 2. Still counts by that. And there's a maximum minimum. And see what we'll get when we graph it in there. So now type in y. And now type in 1/2 or 0.5 sine bracket x plus pi okay, where's my pi? There it is. Bracket minus 1. Enter, graph. And we should have, as you know, as you can see there, I don't know if you can see, but it has a similar graph. There we are below the y-axis and to the right of the 0 line there. And there it is. And if you want, you can erase this pencil line here. That's what you would do now. Erase this pencil line, and you can move these marks up to here if you'd like to make it more exact, but I don't mind if you put them down here. But if you wanted to do it correctly, you can move these up now onto the axis and draw them in here. I accept both ways, but this is the more correct way of doing it. So here is pi, down here is negative 3 pi, negative 2 pi, pi, pi over 2, 0, pi over 2, etc. As we go, and we can fill those in, and then we still have our values here. Negative 2 is here, negative 1 is here, 0 is there. Right? And that's our completed graph. In our next tutorial, we'll draw another graph. We'll do a few more of these for practice.